Thank you. Tiffany and Jordan, and Officer Roman and his wife Jasmine, well, they dedicated their lives to public service. They would want us to continue our work in public service. And so today, I'm here in West Philly to talk a little bit about the service to others when it comes to making sure we have more housing and more affordable housing, not just here in the city of Philadelphia, but all across the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And it is wonderful to be here at one of Mark Dambley's properties where we are providing affordable housing access to people who otherwise wouldn't have it. I've had the chance to work with Mark in Montgomery County and across the state, and I appreciate what you and your team build. And I know you appreciate others in the industry that do that work. And I think you and others understand that it takes all of us to make sure that there is affordable, acceptable, habitable housing all across Pennsylvania. And so to be here with these lawmakers, to be here with these advocates, not just from the Philly, I see our Mayor Pittston here and others from across Pennsylvania, it really matters that we have built this entire team who are focused on the issue of affordable housing. This is work that I know many people in this room have been doing for quite some time. And this is work that is not new to me. There are many in this room I partnered with back in 2018 when I served as your Attorney General. And I got a tip from then a young state senator named Vince Hughes, who told me that he feared that there was redlining going on in our community. I heard from others in the community with similar concerns. And we spent a couple years investigating it. We listened to people all across Philadelphia who brought their tips and brought their thoughts to us, who just wanted to be able to pursue a dream of owning their own home, but then were hit with discrimination. We're hit with shut doors. We're hit with efforts to make it harder for them to be able to buy a home. I promised to hold those mortgage companies accountable when I was Attorney General, and that is exactly what I did about 2 years ago when I stood with some of you over in Malcolm X Park, just a couple miles from here, down, I think down 52nd Street, if I'm not mistaken. And there we announced a major settlement that forced discriminatory mortgage lenders to stop their predatory practices and reinvest $18 million back into this community to help people afford homes in their neighborhoods of their choice. I stood up for your rights to have safe, affordable housing as your Attorney General, and I'm continuing that work today as your governor. Because listen, having a home that you can call your own, raise a family in, where you can build a productive life and chart your own course and have more freedom, well, that's a key part of the Pennsylvania dream, a key part of our American dream. And let's be honest, we can't expect people to be healthy, productive, and capable of giving back to others if they don't have a stable housing situation, if they don't have a safe roof over their head. But here's the thing, right now across Pennsylvania, we don't have enough safe, affordable housing for Pennsylvanians. We're not building enough new housing to keep up with demand. And right now, we believe we need 100,000 additional housing units all across Pennsylvania just to keep up with the current rate of demand. Since 2010, the rate of home ownership has fallen in Pennsylvania, and the number of people who rent has gone up by nearly 200,000 households, from 1.47 million households to 1.64 million renters. At the same time, the cost of housing has really significantly increased. So you've got more people needing to rent, and those rents rising across Pennsylvania. And for folks who are in homes or seeking a home, it's important to note that our housing stock all across Pennsylvania is aging, not the people in them, the actual houses that they are trying to live in. Consider this, 60% of all housing in Pennsylvania was built before 1970. Look, I have visited many of those homes in Dauphin County recently where their 50-year-old windows need to be replaced in that senior citizen's home. I visited a mom right here in Philadelphia not too long ago that needed structural repairs and renovations to her home just so she could stay cool in the summer and warm in the winter. She wanted to be here in this neighborhood in Philly, but the house was getting so old she needed extra help to be able to stay there. So all told, what does this mean for us as Pennsylvanians? We don't have enough housing. The cost of housing is going up, and the housing that we do have is getting older and is in need of more repairs. Now, I want to be clear about something. This is not a need that is unique just to Philadelphia or just to Pennsylvania. States all across the country are grappling with. But Pennsylvania, well, we are falling behind some of our fellow states, including some of our neighboring states. Consider this. Michigan recently invested $1.6 billion toward affordable housing in Michigan. Massachusetts set aside $5 billion for affordable housing there. And our neighbor in New York is investing $25 billion to solve their housing crisis. It is time we catch up here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I want us to be able to lower costs for Pennsylvanians. I want to attract more Pennsylvanians to come here because there's more work here, and we are well on our way with our investments that we've made in economic development and education. And we've got to grow our economy, and housing is a key piece to that. Housing stability is critical when you want to help people be able to have the freedom to chart their own course and the opportunity to succeed. So that is why I'm here today, to focus on the housing piece of helping people have more freedom and more opportunity in Pennsylvania. Together, many of the lawmakers in this room have worked on a bipartisan basis to begin addressing some of the challenges that we face. Alongside the General Assembly, we've invested about $300 million since I took office as your governor to focus on housing. Let me give you some specifics. When I took office, the FAIR program, those are the tax credits that are relied upon in order to build affordable housing across Pennsylvania. The cap on that program stood at $60 million the day I took office. Thanks to the bipartisan work we did with the General Assembly, that cap is being raised to $100 million by 2026. That's a big deal. We have, for the first time, invested state dollars to help those who are experiencing homelessness. $5 million to start in our budget. That was an important down payment. I see Representative Krajewski nodding. That was something he insisted on in this budget, and we appreciate your leadership. And we know so many people who are at risk of losing their homes are seniors. Seniors who are getting priced out because they just need a little bit of extra help being able to afford their homes and being able to deal with rising property taxes across Pennsylvania. For 20 years, lawmakers talked about increasing the property tax rent rebate. We came together and we got that done. We nearly doubled the property tax rent rebate and nearly doubled the number of seniors who qualify for it. So now seniors have more money in their pocket. We've cut costs, and we're helping them be able to stay in their homes. We've been able to drive out together $125 million in whole home repair money that came from the federal government, but is helping people fix up their homes. $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 makes a huge difference to allow someone to be able to live with dignity in the community that they love. Unfortunately, some of the Republican leaders in the Pennsylvania State Senate refused to reauthorize that with state money. But here's the thing. We're not done. We're going to continue to push to make sure that we have those dollars and much more available for people who need that help. Now, those investments, they matter. One of the things I have certainly come to realize during this process is there is not one initiative. There is not one program. There is not one line item, notwithstanding how important all those things are. They're going to help us comprehensively address our housing challenges here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What we need is a coordinated, comprehensive, statewide housing solution, one that is grounded in Pennsylvania's unique challenges, but also takes advantage of our unique opportunities. And that is what brings me here today. In a few moments, I'm going to be signing that executive order, directing the Department of Community and Economic Development under Secretary Rick Seiger's leadership to create the first ever housing action plan here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This makes us one of only a handful of states across the entire country looking at housing through this comprehensive lens. I want you to know that DCED, under Secretary Seiger's leadership, will be tasked with bringing together stakeholders to identify Pennsylvania's unique needs and build this comprehensive strategic plan for how to address our housing shortage. We'll create a roadmap for building more affordable housing in more communities across Pennsylvania. We are going to lower costs in order to give Pennsylvanians more affordable housing options. We will give real concrete suggestions on how to repair older homes and help our aging neighbors stay in the homes and communities that they love so much. On top of that, this executive order also requires the Department of Human Services, under the leadership of Secretary Val Arkush, who joins us today, to bring together stakeholders from across multiple state agencies, local and federal government partners as well, and our community partners to have finally a comprehensive effort to address homelessness across Pennsylvania. Now, I want to be really, really clear. I think you all know me to be an impatient governor who wants to get stuff done yesterday. These leaders have 1 year to do this work, only 1 year. A lot of times, folks come up with strategic plans, and then like 30 years later, you wonder what happened with that strategic plan. This is an action plan that we are going to move on. I know this is a big task, and no one person or governmental group or nonprofit can solve it alone. It's going to require all of us coming together, working together, taking each other's best ideas and lifting them up. I want you to know that we recognize the challenge here in Pennsylvania, and we are committed to doing something about it. That's why we have so many community leaders who are here with us today. Senator Saval, Senator Hughes, Representative Cephas, great advocates like former representatives. I have to call you like CEO, executive lady, Donna Bullock, Councilwoman Jamie Gauthier. We have people from all different levels, all different branches of government, all different walks of life working with us on this, because we understand that ensuring Pennsylvanians have affordable housing to live in is going to take a coordinated effort by all of us. Listen, I know Mayor Parker takes this very seriously. She's been leading on this effort. I know Vice President Harris has big plans in this area. Imagine that. Local government, state government, and God willing, the federal government working together in order to address homelessness, in order to address the housing challenges we face all across the United States of America. Our state government is going to be a linchpin in that effort, and we are going to work together with all of our partners to get this done. Listen, my track record is pretty good when I see a problem and set my mind to addressing it. Our administration, as you know, lives by 3 simple letters, GSD. We focus on getting stuff done. So we don't sign executive orders and write reports just for the sake of it. We do this because these are concrete actions that lead to concrete solutions and help lift up our fellow Pennsylvanians. Take a look at what we've done on aging. Together, we signed an aging master plan, first time ever in Pennsylvania. And now the dollars are flowing toward those needs that have been identified by Secretary Kavulich and the good folks at the Department of Aging. We've known for years, probably decades, until a court told us a year ago officially that we had an unconstitutional education system here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Yet we all came together on a bipartisan basis. We didn't study the issue. We didn't appeal the court's ruling. We didn't say we were going to talk about it for a few years and appoint a commission. No, in the next possible budget, we came together to invest an historic amount in public education and a brand new formula that drives those dollars out to the districts that need it most. We know how to solve problems. We've known for years we've had a problem with higher education. We put together a team. We said we'd work on it for 1 year, and in this budget, we reformed our higher education institutions, our budget, our plans going forward, and ways to connect our higher education institutions into the communities that need it most and our employers that need us most. My point in raising this with you is when we identify a serious problem and we put the best minds around the table with the legal requirements that they act in an executive order like I'm about to sign, stuff gets done in Pennsylvania. And that is now our next mandate to address housing here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I want you to know we take this very, very seriously, and we're going to continue to do this work together. It is critically important that we address this challenge along with others, and I'm grateful to everybody in this room who has made housing affordability and housing in general a priority of their work. I want you to know now you have a state government who are going to be partners with you in that effort. We care deeply about this work, and I believe here in Pennsylvania we have shown that when we come together, we can solve problems together. And this is our next big problem to address, to solve, and to meet the needs of our fellow Pennsylvanians. So I want to thank all of you for being here today. And with that, I want to invite up a former colleague of mine, someone who's doing incredible work leading Project Home, continuing the great work that Sister Mary has done in this community, making sure that people have a roof over their head and the care they need in their places where they live, and that is our good friend, Representative Donna Bullock.
Thank you, Governor. Senator Hughes and I were sitting there. I think we agreed on an executive lady.
Executive lady? We can call her that.
No,
That's a good title.
we'll stick with CEO.
All right. Executive lady. I'll call you whatever you want.
Just don't call me late to dinner. I am honored to be here with you all today as the president and CEO of Project Home.
Did you see that side eye she gave me?
Project Home is an organization at the forefront of developing solutions to end and prevent chronic street homelessness in our city. What our co-founders knew in 1989 and what we still know today is that homelessness is solvable, and it takes all of us. That is why I'm so grateful to join Governor Shapiro, members of the House and Senate, my former colleagues, Senator Saval, Senator Hughes, Representative Cephas, Representative Krajewski, Senator Haywood. I don't think I missed anyone in the room, but many others who have worked in the House and Senate, and particularly on this issue across the Commonwealth. Our Speaker, Joanna McClinton, Representative out of Lancaster, Izzy Smith-Waddell, and even in her freshman year out of Pittsburgh, Representative Lindsay Powell. They have all been working diligently on this issue along with housing advocates and community members. And I want to thank you for having the will and vision to work together on this important issue. Housing costs are rising and the housing need is growing. We need to focus on a comprehensive solution and policies that address these rising costs and the complex root causes of homelessness. 54% of Philadelphia's renters are spending 30% or more of their income on housing costs. 1 out of 5 households are spending 50% or more of their income. That's shocking, and honestly, it's simply unacceptable. More permanent, affordable housing with supports for recovery and mental health, with pathways to employment and education. These housing options empower individuals to break the cycles of homelessness and poverty. Every Pennsylvanian, regardless of their station in life, deserves a safe and affordable place to live and thrive. Governor, in these last 2 months at Project Home, I can't tell you how many times one of our residents proudly wanted to show off their unit to me, proudly wanted to share their journey home with me. With over 1,000 units of housing across this city, at Project Home, we believe that none of us are home until all of us are home. It's a simple but profound charge. We are in this together, and we all have a part in the solution. Governor, you get that. You told us that sitting on the sidelines was not an option. You told us we had to get in the game. And since the start of your administration, Governor, you have been in the game for affordable housing. This administration has been laser focused on working across the aisle to deliver practical, common sense solutions to cutting housing costs and to create real opportunities for Pennsylvanians to build an economy and a government where all can succeed. Together, Governor Shapiro and the General Assembly has delivered major investments that will help folks stay in their homes, address homelessness, and build more affordable housing by expanding the property tax rent rebate, nearly doubling the funding cap for FAIR, increasing the homeless assistance program, thank you, Representative Krajewski, doubling state investments for the neighborhood assistance program, increasing dollars for historic preservation and the whole home repair programs, and lastly, for the first time ever, investing in access to counsel for those facing eviction. Modeled after Philadelphia. Councilwoman Rue Landau, Councilwoman Jamie Gaultier, thank you for your work in this space. These are historic investments in housing, historic investments in our people. And today, Pennsylvania is taking yet another historic step toward long-term solutions that will get everyone in the game. By bringing the Commonwealth's agencies together to address the housing shortage, Governor Shapiro's executive order will create the first statewide housing action plan, as I heard, in Pennsylvania's history. Under this new executive order, the Department of Community Economic Development, DCED, and Department of Human Services will work together and with the governor's office to create a comprehensive plan to address housing. Our success at Project Home is only possible thanks to the commitment of our partners like Governor Shapiro, like Robin Weissman at PHFA, and so many other advocates who are here as well. Together, with more collaboration at the state level under this executive order, and with more state resources invested in housing and invested in homeless services, we at Project Home and many other housing providers will be able to do so much more to continue our life-saving work and to continue our fight for fair, affordable housing until every Philadelphian, every Pennsylvanian has a place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is now my honor to introduce the gentleman that knows how to ask for more, and a pleasure to work with over the years, Senator Vincent Hughes.
Thank you. Wow. So there's a lot of context to this. Representative Cephas would understand this in a very deep way for us to be in this space. What's up, Calvin Jeremiah? Stay away from Calvin Jeremiah. All right? Stay away, because he's going to get in your pocket. I'm telling you right now. For real. I just saw him, and it's like, bam, all right? And I guarantee you, before you leave, you won't wind up making a commitment, all right? I guarantee you with Kelvin, all right? Before, I have to mention this, Governor, the context of having this conversation now and this historic announcement now in this location is extremely important. Our good friend and colleague, Councilman Jones, this used to be a dance hall. This used to be a party facility. You used to come in here and have a lot of fun. Some of you are around long enough to appreciate that. Some of you will appreciate it but not acknowledge it because you don't want to be exposed, okay? But Councilman Jones drove us hard, am I right, Representative? Okay? Hard to transform this into this incredibly important space that it is right now. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge his hard work to get us here. Absolutely, absolutely. Just like last week at Brish Shalom, okay? It was his hard work that drove that process. There's three words that I want to just leave us all with. Bias for action. Having a bias for action is how we need to be in this. First of all, being here with the governor, he kind of went a little bit through the history, but it might kind of like just go on over top of folks' head. But I want us to understand that his spirit and work ethic about having a bias for action, that whole incident about redlining that we addressed 2017, 2018, around that time frame. Yeah, we enjoyed the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. That was fun, but we didn't get distracted from doing our work, okay? We had a bias for action. We called out and saw redlining, and Philadelphia, unfortunately, had one of the highest rates of redlining in the country. We saw that. He was the Attorney General then, and we had appropriations hearing then, and we raised this issue, and he said, you know what, I'll never forget this. This was the Attorney General Shapiro's words in that appropriations hearing. Mr. Chairman, I don't usually use these formats to make news, but we're going to make news today. And he announced an investigation at the Attorney General's level in his office on the issue of redlining. And that led to the settlement, $18 million settlement for, yes, bias for action. Mm-hmm. Bias for action. And what I want to encourage all of us is to operate with that mindset, a bias for action. We know what the problem is. We have across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania some of the best housing advocates, but some of the best individuals who know how to make housing happen. Mm-hmm. All right? We have some of the greatest talent in the country here in Pennsylvania. We just have to have the bias for action, okay? And then we have to go turn around that bias into real units and real housing opportunities for more people. I can say comfortably, Governor, that our foundation community, having talked with many of them, are on board, ready to go. I can say, Governor, comfortably, our private sector is on board, okay? I can say comfortably that our elected officials are on board. Now, some of them need to be more on board than others, if you know what I mean. Working on it. Okay, but we're working on it, all right? And we will help them be their best selves. That's a phrase that we like to use. Robin's heard me utilize that phrase on a regular basis. We're going to help them be their best selves because we want to implement in the spirit of a bias for action. It's build more, it's preserve more, and it's own more. I'll let you can run with that phrase, all right? Build more. I mean, you are the governor, all right? Build more, preserve more, and own more. And fortunately, we have a situation where the governor believes in it, most of the General Assembly believes in it, the private sector believes in it. In Philadelphia, the mayor certainly believes in it, and if we do what we're supposed to do, the next president will make it happen. And in case you hadn't heard, we've got surplus dollars in Pennsylvania. In case you haven't heard. Why not utilize those surplus dollars for housing? Why not? Why not? We have enough to touch a number of different areas, and when we put our mind to it, as the governor showed us, especially in the education space, especially in the K-12 education space, we can get stuff done. So let's have that bias for action. And I know, Governor, the executive order calls for a 1 year. We got 1 year. Why can't we get the work done in 6 months?
It's good with me.
I mean, for real.
You give Siger like
for
the
real. Yeah,
sweats.
well, I mean, we have the money, we have the infrastructure, we have the talent. Yeah, let's push the envelope, because the need to build more, to preserve more, and to own more is all across the Commonwealth, and it is at a very high level. So I just want to thank the governor for continuing in that spirit that was demonstrated when he was Attorney General, and we went to court and we settled on a major piece around redlining, but continuing that all the way through to this executive order that he's signing today. Governor,
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
This was a bill that languished in the legislature. It was introduced in 2022, but the legislative process would not allow it to become law. The governor and his team said, you know what, that's a good idea. I'm going to turn it into an executive order, and we thank you, Governor. We thank you very much. Joining us now, he is our guy. He is our guy. Have you heard of a program called Whole Home Repair?
I have.
You heard of it? All right, okay. I just wanted to make sure, okay? Just want to make sure. A bunch of folks came together to make that a reality, the Whole Home Repairs program, but he is probably the loudest voice, most focused voice all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Please bring up Senator Nikhil Saval. The loudest voice.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Senator Hughes. Thank you for welcoming me to your district. Again, I'm Nikhil Saval. It's my honor to represent the people and communities of Pennsylvania's 1st Senatorial District. I'm so grateful to Governor Shapiro and his team for bringing all of us here together today and for uniting the time, energy, and might of our Commonwealth in addressing the one thing that is most important to all of us, which is home. All of us, without exception, deserve homes that are safe and healthy. Our ability to secure employment, to take part in our government, to obtain an education, and to secure an adequate standard of living for ourselves and our loved ones are dependent first and foremost on our ability to access a stable place, a home, from which we can base and build our lives. Our Commonwealth is experiencing, as we've heard, a decades-long housing crisis, transcending all geographic and political boundaries. Many of the problems we see now have deep roots in redlining, as we've heard. The practices by which governments, policymakers, the real estate industry sought to suppress Black and brown people and communities by dictating where they could live, what access to resources they could have or not have, and their ability to care for their neighborhoods, as well as in chronic disinvestment that has left rural and urban communities alike with a severe lack of affordable homes for their residents and little support to preserve and protect the homes they have. Across our Commonwealth, our neighbors are struggling under depressed wages, high energy burdens, and extreme weather that our homes were never designed to bear. The housing crisis, in turn, fuels other crises. Housing insecurity leading to homelessness, declining commercial activity, community violence, and the continued collapse of our climate. This is part of what makes Governor Shapiro's executive order so singular. Taking proactive steps to understand the scale of this crisis and the different tools our legislators and departments can wield, inclusive of whole home repairs, FAIR, PHFA's other programs, the HOP program, as well as existing federal initiatives, and extending far beyond to incentivize supply of all housing types and support those who are experiencing homelessness and those at risk who are losing their homes. All of this is one of the highest goals our Commonwealth can devote itself to. Investments made in housing and keeping people safe in their homes will repay themselves tenfold in revitalized commerce, growing communities in rural areas, high-quality construction and energy efficiency jobs, and increased transit use. Investments in housing are investments in the health and sustainability of our Commonwealth. This action could not be more timely. As the housing crisis reaches new heights, we hear of states and local governments struggling with what to do and failing the people who depend on them. Not here. This executive order shows the commitment of our governor and our government to meeting the real needs of our neighbors throughout Pennsylvania. Once again, Pennsylvania is showing itself as a model for our nation, and I look forward to the work to come. Thank you. And with that, it is a great honor to bring up my colleague and friend, representative for this area and chair of the Philadelphia House Delegation, Representative Morgan Cephas.
Good afternoon. So as he stated, I am Morgan Cephas. I represent the 192nd Legislative District, and I want to give you a nice welcome. Thank you for coming to the district. Make sure you spend some money while you're here. I'm also the Philadelphia Delegation Chair, and in my role, I am responsible for carrying the priorities of my colleagues, but also the priorities of the city of Philadelphia, and housing is very much top of mind. I also want to recognize my colleague, Representative Krajewski. So all of the amazing ideas that I'm going to talk about today are all of his ideas. I'm stealing them just for the remarks. But first and foremost, I want to thank our governor for being intentional on selecting this site. As our senator mentioned, this site was deteriorating at a time where myself and Councilwoman Jamie Gauthier, we were born and raised in this community. We were not old enough to go to the parties that you were talking about. But we do remember this building being vacant, it deteriorating at the time, causing blight, attracting criminal activity, but working with partnerships like our governor, city council, as well as Penrose, we were able to bring on 50 units for senior housing here in this Winfield community in 2017. But we were also, a couple of blocks from here, able to bring an additional 50 units in the Winfield community, where it was an old refinery site, just a couple of stone blocks away. And just this past August, I guess you're going to hear a theme that we want to keep building and building when it comes to senior housing, because we cannot build them fast enough. But just in August, we broke ground in the Overbrook community, again with Penrose, 50 new units for our seniors in that community. That is going to be transformative, not just for that neighborhood, but for those that are interested in using that as a place of housing. But one of the key things is that for every unit that we build, we have over 50 applications that are needed. So again, we cannot build that housing fast enough. And, I tell you those stories because those are some of the success stories that are happening in West Philadelphia. There's also a different housing story that's happening across the city of Philadelphia that I want to uplift in this moment. Senator Hughes mentioned it very briefly, but the situation over at Brith Shalom, where we saw a property owner look to that property in that section of Philadelphia, just using it as an opportunity to pull out equity, had the potential of displacing hundreds of seniors because of the lack of maintenance at that property. But working collaboratively, they were able to save it with PHA and making a significant financial investment in that area to keep our seniors in that building. Also want to uplift the University City Townhomes in Councilwoman Gauthier's district, which I know she's going to talk about, where a HUD contract was being canceled with the potential of displacing 70 families in that area. But again, thankfully to Councilwoman Gauthier, she was not only able to save those 70 units, but able to connect those individuals to other opportunities when it comes to housing. So I thank you for your work in that. But that is yet another story in the city of Philadelphia. You also had that high-profile case last year when a young woman was harmed by a landlord-tenant officer due to a rent payment dispute. And in the city of Philadelphia, renters account for 46% of the households, with evictions increasing statewide with over 300 renters facing eviction filings every single day. We also know about the backlog when it comes to the whole home repair program that we just talked about. Additionally, we're seeing 6,000 students identified as unhoused in the 2022 and 2023 school year, which is a 46% increase from the previous school year alone. So our young people are dealing with this crisis as well. And last but not least, there are over 10,000 tangled titles, equating to 10,000 tangled titles in the city of Philadelphia, representing $1.1 billion in equity for the city of Philadelphia that, if not managed, we see generational wealth losing so many of our communities. Now, I raise all these issues and I tell these stories to reinforce that housing is a complex issue. And we need common sense solutions, which is why I am excited and fully committed to the Governor Shapiro to realize this housing action plan that will outline goals, recommendations, initiatives for over the next 5 years, because we know if it's not measured, it is not managed. And we know we are not going to be able to do this alone. I know we talked about a lot of the investment that we're making on the state level, but I do want to commend the city of Philadelphia for also stepping up to the plate where sometimes the state falls short. We've seen just with our mayor, her commitment to building 30,000 affordable luxury units across the city of Philadelphia, and she's been racing to ribbon cuttings since she got in office, so she is making her way. But we've also seen our city council create both a mortgage foreclosure diversion program and a landlord-tenant diversion program, both which are national models that people are adopting across our country. Yes, thank you. We've also seen our colleagues on a local level make sure that evictions will now be publicly accountable and handled by the sheriff's office following the failure of the landlord-tenant officer and the violence that so many of our families are experiencing. And I want to thank City Council for stepping up in that moment. We've also seen increases for our local homestead to bring down property tax costs, as well as adding additional money to the Housing Trust Fund. And I raised the issue of what City Council is committing because, again, we cannot handle this burden alone on the city and in the state level. We have to incorporate our federal partners. When we talk about infrastructure, we can't just talk about roads and bridges, even though I know you hit a pothole or two coming, to today's ceremony. But we have to ensure that our housing stock is a part of that conversation when it comes to infrastructure, because in urban communities, that is a part of our infrastructure. When we're talking about housing, when we're talking about alleyways and driveways, I'm going to throw the retaining walls in there because I have a budget request. But these are the things that we have to be committed to. And, I'm beyond excited to see so many levels of government, so many partners coming to the table to really address this issue of housing crisis in a more systemic way. And I'm excited at the fact that we are going to bump up the year to about 6 months because we got to get prepared for budget season and those budget ads, both locally and on the state level. But again, this is, the first time this state has ever put together a comprehensive plan, and having all the stakeholders at the table, we know we are going to get stuff done like the governor says. So thank you so much. And with that, I would like to turn the program over to my city council person, Jamie Gaultier.
Good afternoon, everybody. Our delegation chair did such a good job talking about City Council's accomplishments that there's not that much more for me to add, but I'll still say a few things. And I'm really proud to be here today because in Philadelphia and across the country, Americans have made it clear that bringing housing costs down must be the government's #1 priority. I'm glad that candidates for office at the highest level have started talking about the housing crisis with the seriousness that it deserves. I'm not sure if anyone else noticed, but it was the first issue mentioned during the presidential debate the other night. In every neighborhood across our city, we hear the same story. Housing costs have skyrocketed and income isn't keeping up. As the chair of Philadelphia City Council's Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless, along with my wonderful vice chair, Councilmember Rue Landau, who was here a little bit earlier, I've been leading our local efforts to create and preserve the affordable housing that is essential for a successful life, healthy neighborhoods, and a vibrant city. By cutting red tape and implementing new incentives, we made it easier to build affordable housing, especially on vacant public land. And we armed the city, affordable housing providers, homeowners, landlords, and tenants with additional tools and funding to keep vulnerable Philadelphians in their homes. Because we know that the most affordable home tends to be the one that you already live in. And as Rep. Cephas mentioned, after the crisis at the University City Townhomes, we implemented right of first refusal so that those most committed to affordable housing, the City of Philadelphia and our affordable housing providers and PHA and tenant groups can have the first opportunity to buy affordable housing units as they are coming out of compliance. But the city cannot solve our housing affordability crisis on its own. And we know that at the current rate, it would take us more than 2 centuries. And I'll pause and say that again. It would take us more than 2 centuries at our current rate to meet Philadelphia's affordable housing need. It goes without saying that this is time we simply do not have. That's why I'm grateful that we have leaders like Governor Josh Shapiro and the others in this room who are putting Harrisburg to work on this issue. Today's executive order is the latest, but surely not the last, example of how the Commonwealth government is stepping up to the plate and working with the City of Philadelphia and municipalities across Pennsylvania to get and keep working families in safe, stable, and affordable housing. And with everyone that you see up here today working together to solve our housing crisis, I'm optimistic that we will finally be able to turn the tide. So thank you so much, Governor Shapiro, for your steadfast commitment to achieving housing justice. Thank you.
Finally, let me welcome one of the point people in my administration who's been working on affordable housing through many administrations, building units all across our Commonwealth with great skill, and that is Robin Weissman, the head of PHFA.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and I am so excited about this entire initiative. I want to acknowledge all of the very able, capable public servants that we have who are action ready, along with so many people in the private sector and all of you other stakeholders who are here today that are so important for everything housing. I want to acknowledge some of my board members who are here. We call them housers. They've been around for a long time. Our board member Mark Schwartz, John Payon, Marquita Morris-Louis, and I think Janet Koppel is here as well. So they are a dedicated group, and they are fully committed to this initiative with the governor. There's no question we are at an unbelievable inflection point in housing today in our country and closest to home for all of us in Pennsylvania. So I am thrilled and really want to thank the governor for not just taking the leadership to do this, but to harnessing all of the resources, and it will mean all of us, getting together to get this done. I want to tell you just a little bit about PHFA so it'll be helpful to you as you are harnessing your resources to help us all with the initiative. At the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, our name suggests that affordable housing, building it, preserving it, owning it, and keeping it has been our singular mission. And just last year, the agency celebrated its 50th anniversary, marking 5 decades of creating and preserving affordable housing. But there's so much more that needs to be done, and given where we are at this point in time, we can get done. For half a century, PHFA has been responding to the evolving housing needs. They're different today than they were even 7 years ago. And we provide tax credits that builders use to help finance the construction of affordable rental housing in all 67 counties. We provide affordable home loans for low and moderate income families. This year alone, we're doing over $1 billion for first-time homeowners in Pennsylvania. Our HEMAP program, which is the Homeowner Emergency Management Assistance Program, which is coupled with our extensive counseling agencies, we have more than 67 around the country, help homeowners who are in danger of foreclosure to funding for addressing their needs. These and many other programs we oversee, including the most flexible one, which the governor just discussed, the FAIR program, have had a singular focus on housing, and they have made and will continue to make enormous differences. On many of these efforts, and looking forward, we work cooperatively with DCED, the Department of Human Services, and other agencies under the governor to maximize our impact. There is a long history of productive interagency cooperation among the agencies and the state-led housing programs. But today, so much more is needed. The comprehensive approach, the command center is really important to getting this done. Our state, as you've heard today, has some of the oldest housing stock in the nation. So compiling the data on housing resources, availability of vacancies, all of these things really need to get integrated at the state level to address all of our constituents as well as people who want to just have a place to call home first. The governor's proposed action plan will give us a snapshot of our available housing stock and its condition, and the database will give us lots of tools to move forward to put people into housing and to site housing where it's most needed. Our individual efforts by state agencies have been considerable, as I mentioned, but just imagine how much more we will accomplish if we have this coordinated, comprehensive plan. By unifying our efforts, we'll ensure that all of our housing investments can accomplish the most good, to optimize the good. So we are fully committed to working on this effort with the governor's office, the administration. We have so much work to do, and we're so excited about it. And I thank you again, Governor, for making it happen.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now is the time to begin that 6 to 12 month clock here, right? I'm going to sign the executive order, and then we'll come back up and take some questions from the media.
Kelvin's coming. Watch your pockets, everybody.
Always split the difference.
The governor has already has my request.
I know that.
Here, you stay here.
Folks, as tight as possible.
Okay. Connor, we good? Okay. That's for you, Madam President and CEO. Thank you for your work. Senator, thanks for challenging us. Senator, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you. I would give you this, except I got to follow this with the lawyers. So I'm going to keep this, but why don't we head back over here and take some questions?